Hello and welcome to this day in history for January 4th. January 4th is, of course, the fourth day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. 361 days remain to the end of the year, unless it's a leap year, and in that case, there will be 362 days remaining to the end of the year.
Today's word is rounder. Rounder is a noun that means a drunkard, idler, or self indulgent person, apparently referring to one who makes rounds of bars or downs many rounds of drinks. The word rounder itself comes from Latin and Indo European root words before that. Earliest documented use of the word rounder is 1854. Rounder.
And with that, we are going to start with the birthday of English mathematician and physicist Isaac Newton, born January 4th, 1643. He formulated laws of motion and universal gravitation that formed the dominant scientific viewpoint until superseded by the theory of relativity. He also developed a sophisticated theory of color based on the observation that a prism separates white light into the colors of the visible spectrum. He's also known for a concept known as Newtonian mechanics. Isaac Newton lived to the age of 84. This is the birthday of a man named Jacob Grimm. He was born January 4th, 1785. Jacob and his younger brother Wilhelm are the brothers Grimm of Grimm's fairy tales. Joseph edited Grimm's fairy tales. He did a lot of other quite significant work in law, language, and grammar as well, and lived to the age of 78. This is the birthday of Louis Braille, born January 4th, 1809.
He invented the tactile system of writing known as Braille, which allows blind people to read. Louis Braille lived to the age of 43, having succumbed to tuberculosis. In honor of his life and accomplishments and the value of his system to the blind, January 4th also happens to be World Braille Day.
Now, Utah was admitted as the 45th state, 45th U.S. state in the United States on January 4th, 1896. I have so much fun doing this research. I learned things I would never have imagined. So this one is that it is the birthday of James Bond, born January 4th, 1900. This exact James Bond was an American ornithologist, an expert on birds of the Caribbean. He wrote a book on the subject entitled Birds of the West Indies, and it turns out that Ian Fleming happened to be interested in bird watching. Ian Fleming that is, was living in Jamaica and was quite familiar with the ornithologist James Bond's work. Fleming appropriated Bond's name for the hero of the book Casino Royale, which he was working on in 1953. Fleming wanted a name for his hero that was as ordinary as possible, and he felt that the name James Bond was short, unromantic, Anglo-Saxon, and yet very masculine, and as such filled the bill perfectly. Ian Fleming admired James Bond and his work and borrowed his name as the name of the hero in his books. And so I imagine he must have been delighted when the real James Bond and his wife paid a surprise visit to Fleming while they were on their annual winter visit to Jamaica. Ian Fleming autographed one of his books to James Bond with the caption, "To the real James Bond, from the thief of his identity." That's probably one time that identity theft would be okay. He told James Bond's wife, "I can only offer your James Bond unlimited use of the name Ian Fleming. Perhaps one day he will discover some particularly horrible species of bird, which he would like to christen in an insulting fashion." Several of the Bond movies even sprinkle ornithology and the book itself, Birds of the West Indies, into the settings and plots. Kind of keep an eye out for those little Easter eggs as you're watching Bond movies. James Bond, the ornithologist, lived to the age of 89. This is the birthday of American race car driver and inventor Jim Downing, born January 4th, 1942. He's a 5-time IMSA championship winner and was significant in help creating a thing called the HANS device. This stands for Head and Neck Support Device. He had seen terrible things happen to people who had been in a wreck with their bodies were strapped in tight, but their heads were not, resulting in head and neck injuries that could sometimes be fatal. Sputnik 1, the first artificial Earth satellite that had been launched by the Soviet Union in 1957, fell to Earth on January 4th, 1958. Luna 1, also part of the Soviet space program, became the first spacecraft to reach the vicinity of the Moon on January 4th, 1959. Former professional wrestler Jesse Ventura was sworn in as governor of Minnesota on January 4th, 1999. And that is all I have for you today. I hope you learned something you didn't know before. I know I sure did. Always do. As always, links to my research are included in the show notes. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video. And I guess that's about it. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.